Well, I think they call that a slap suit, and I think that really could have a chilling effect on both freedom of speech and on community activism. So I think this board would certainly not prefer those things to happen. What happens in a circuit court or another body between two parties may or may not be the liquor board's jurisdiction, but I would say that it is a bad day for communities if lawsuits are abused in a way to prevent residents from testifying.
But you would take that as evidence at the hearing, at the liquor board hearing, if that happens?
I can't say that for sure in a hypothetical situation, but I can tell you that that's something that certainly would concern the board.
Thank you. And the last question is, you mentioned the instance where when there was a concern about intimidation, the board on its own initiative prompted a violation hearing. What are the internal standards, to initiate without having the community file the complaint, but internally that would initiate a liquor board violation hearing?
With respect to an allegation of witness intimidation?
No, with anything. If you have inspectors that see things, or police, moreover police officers that have had instances, that complain, would you protest? Do you allow a license protest based on police officer complaints?
If we believe there was a void in neighborhood leadership, if there was no community association, that would be a situation where the board may be able to act on its own initiative. Luckily, every neighborhood in Baltimore is well represented by community interests. In those cases, we believe that the case should come from the neighborhood for a couple of reasons. One is that neighbors are the best evidence gatherers. They live in the community 24/7. There are 50 residents involved, say, in a project, or even 10 residents on a petition. Those 10 residents can gather a lot of evidence and can give us a perspective, a full, broad perspective of really what's going on that our inspectors may never be able to figure out if they come around once, 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day. The residents who live there, they make the best cases, and additionally, it puts the board in an unusual position if we were to accept a protest, or we were to initiate a protest. The board, having to be an administrative body, doesn't want to have to play prosecution necessarily. And so in a case, for example, that's set tomorrow, as you may be aware, there is a hearing for a license that was taken by the board's initiative. That case will be argued by various factions, including the city law department as well. So we would prefer that the communities are able to put on these cases just because of the quality of the evidence, but that's not always possible, as you know. That's not always possible, and so we'll find a way to allow for a hearing if there's even an allegation of witness tampering.
So outside of witness tampering, is there any room for the board to work with the police department to be proactive in cases where the police are seeing more, are having to deal with a particular establishment on a routine basis, and the community may or may not have filed a complaint, but the police department, based on the amount of resources that have been dedicated and the amount of incidents at the place, would have a problem? Is there room for an administrative process to be created in partnership?
Absolutely, and I would hope that your office would be able to work with us thereon. We're happy to say that this board has began accepting police impact statements, because I've mentioned the community, and I've mentioned the licensee. Police officers are absolutely essential to the information that we need to make a decision. And in fact, police officer testimony and police leadership testimony has been some of the most critical testimony that we've received when making some very tough decisions in the recent future, in the recent past.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And before I ask a couple questions, I want to thank this board, its chairman and members, for the courtesy that you have extended without fail to my constituents and to me. And there's a very positive feeling in my district about the liquor board these days. And that means a lot. And people have a great deal of confidence in your good judgment and goodwill. And that's saying a lot. It's saying a lot. And I thank you, each and every one, for that.
Chair recognizes Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Smith, I have taken zero pleasure in having to appear before you in the last couple of weeks. But it is nice to know that we have a liquor board that is considering strongly the concerns of the community again, and I appreciate that very much, so thank you. To follow, or drug havens, what responsibility do you see a licensee having to provide a secure environment?
Thank you, Councilman. In addition to the regular, the liquor board rules which require the licensee to make sure that they're in compliance and do not allow the commission of any violation of local, state, or federal law or ordinance within their premises, that's probably the biggest reason why they need to keep an eye on the customers. They need to possibly provide security if there is a crowd of customers, if there's routinely a grouping up of people in an establishment. And there is no hard and fast rule on that either, as it would appear to be so many other things. It's up to our licensees to understand that they've got a privilege by being allowed to sell liquor for profit. It's a great business if you can master it, apparently. After what I've learned about it, I don't know that I would ever want to go into that business, but it is a privilege, and they have to guard their asset accordingly. And if that means paying for security, then so be it. If that means putting in lights, putting in cameras, so be it. We won't tell them what to do, but we certainly, when it becomes a problem, no one will be able to ignore it, and usually it will be too late to implement said measures at that time.
Our commissioners, they talk to us, and we are with them 150%. Please, City Council, please talk to the trade associations. We are the peers before it gets to the point that you want to go back to prohibition.